We are here today to announce the findings from our pattern or practice investigation into the city of Lexington, Mississippi, and the Lexington Police Department. We find reasonable cause to believe that the Lexington Police Department and the city of Lexington engage in a pattern or practice of conduct that violates the First, Fourth, and 14th Amendments of the Constitution, the Safe Streets Act, and Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Specifically, we find that the Lexington police use excessive force, unlawfully stop, search, and arrest people, including by jailing people on illegal, quote, investigative holds, end quote, unlawfully jail people without affording prompt access to court, violate the rights of people engaged in free speech and expression, including by retaliating against critics of the police, and unlawfully discriminate against Black people. The department also unlawfully arrests, jails, and detains people based on their failure to pay money without assessing their ability to pay. Unlawfully arrest people just because they owe outstanding fines, and imposes money bail without justification and again without assessing ability to pay. The fact that fines and fees fund the department drives its law enforcement, resulting in a crude policing for profit scheme. The Lexington Police Department operates under an unconstitutional financial conflict of interest. Lexington's focus on revenue and its overly aggressive form of policing leaves the people of Lexington feeling harassed, helpless, and hopeless. For example, on the day that we opened our investigation, Lexington officers chased a man down and tased him until he foamed at the mouth. In the previous months, police officers had repeatedly arrested the man for minor offenses that most police departments would have handled with a ticket. For stealing sugar packets from a gas station, the man spent 13 days in jail. He spent 4 days in jail for taking a second cup of coffee after paying for the first. Each time, the Lexington police kept him in jail because he could not afford to pay the fines or the $50 processing fee Lexington charges for every arrest. Especially for a person in poverty.
Welcome to Let It Be Known, and Assistant U.S. Attorney Christian Clark in the Civil Rights Division. You heard her there. The Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice must live in the state of Mississippi. That place, again, it's one of those states I talk about a lot. We got two amazing newspapers down there in Jackson, the Jackson Advocate and the Mississippi Link. But I have to say, I just don't know and don't want to know on a personal experience anyway, but maybe I do want to know from somebody else's experience. How does a Black person not only live in the state of Mississippi, how do they survive in the state of Mississippi? It is a house of horrors, a state of horrors. It is also where, and Dawn talks about it all the time, that whole welfare scandal in which all these rich folks, allegedly including Brett Favre, siphoned off about $100 million from the welfare system there. And yet, Christian Clark notes that a guy allegedly stealing some bubble gum, apparently, or whatever, gets 13 days, is left in jail for 13 days, tased like a maniac. It is a horrible, horrible Jim Crow place. And I feel sorry for those. And they have, like Louisiana, Power 96 will say, the worst prison, Parchment, there could possibly be. It is a disgusting uh, run state, and deep red. Southbound 3000 hashtag JSU in the building. The I love, and that's Power 96, aka the Orangey Swag Sports. He says that listen, this is what Mississippi is all about. He says, not good old Mississippi. I'm appalled. That state is still stuck in 1860. I am not surprised. And by the way, speaking of the RNG Swag Sports, it's his show tonight on YouTube. Happy Swag T shirt day. And today he says he's rocking an Alcorn State University shirt. You go. This morning on a Friday, the charges against Eric Adams have been revealed. It's a cell phone caper, folks. This guy in the cell phone got him in trouble too. And the cell phone is probably what's going to seal his deal. Um, Mike B says, "Not you got Brett Favre acting like because he announced he has Parkinson's that absolves him from his frauding the people." That was amazing testimony, wasn't it? Amazing, not in a good way. And folks, another black man was put to death yesterday. Oklahoma executed a man for his role in the 1992 shooting death of a convenience store owner after the governor rejected a recommendation from the state's parole board to spare his life. We're going to talk about that this morning. The bloodthirsty folks out there continue to um, execute black males. And how about this? At the height, and when you talk about somebody look up the word hypocrisy and send it to Melania Trump. The same day that her twice impeached, 34 times convicted former president husband was on social media pumping out, pushing his new grift, $100,000 watches. He was selling watches with his face on it for $100,000. On the same day, Melania goes on Fox and says, "This country." Now, Melania, y'all want to talk about immigrants? This foreigner goes on television. This foreigner married to Trump goes on television the same time her husband is pitching watches for sale for $100,000. She says, "People are struggling. We in America can't even afford basic necessities." We'll talk about that this morning too. No Diddy, no doubt. Diddy says he is eating and does not believe someone is poisoning his food. Costco is disputing that he got baby oil from them. This is how crazy this story's gotten, right? And 50 Cent is pushing out a documentary. He and Netflix have gotten together, and you know what to expect there. But first, folks, the Atlanta Fire Rescue Department responded to multiple calls, the bulk of which were swift water rescues. Uh, Last night and early this morning, about 25 people so far have been rescued. Wind related emergencies, on the other hand, were minimal. However, due to the track of the storm, Helene, we're talking about, of course, um, things have been absolutely chaotic in the Southeast. During one of the more complex rescues, authorities helped rescue a family of two adults and an infant on top of a car who were trapped by unexpected swift currents. Homes in the low-lying coastal towns on Florida's Big Bend area also have been washed away as storms surge and battering that coastline. The homes floated away in fast-moving waters as they were pounded early Friday morning by wind and rain. Um, and you could see on social media some of the more shaky, I mean, some videos that many of them are shaky because of storm chasers trying to hold their cameras still in such a mess. The officials who oversee low-lying towns, um, are asking all residents who choose not to evacuate to grab, listen to this, to grab a permanent marker and write their name and date of birth on their leg. The message behind that: you will not survive this. 6 states are under states of emergency as Tropical Storm Helene batters the Southeast. The storm made landfall as a Category 4 hurricane, and folks were warned that this was coming. There was ample warning here. I mean, ferocious winds is what's being reported there, torrential rains, so much damage. In Tampa, Florida, for instance, um, the roads there, the highway there, roads I've actually driven on, it looks like a river. Storm watches and warnings are also in place for 60 million people in 12 states. Ron DeSantis, the governor there in Florida, says 61 of Florida's 67 counties are currently under a state of emergency. In Georgia, all 159 counties were placed under state of emergency as well. North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper warned that Helene is an unusually dangerous storm that threatens to bring heavy rain and potential catastrophic flooding. South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster said that we will likely avoid the brunt of this storm, but it is still expected to bring flooding, high winds, and isolated tornadoes. In Alabama, President Joe Biden approved an emergency declaration for the state and ordered federal assistance to those affected by Helene. And then, as north, far north as Virginia, Governor Glenn Youngkin said the state cannot ignore the fact that we have had significant flooding events arise from precursory rain events and outer bands from tropical systems that drop locally heavy rainfall, leading to flooding, especially in our south western region. So the storm is real. It was forecasted. The National Weather Service had warned. And now the folks are really seeing the unfortunate consequences and circumstances of this storm. Mike V says Melania had to wait 90 days before she can get Secret Service clearance to enter the White House because she was not born here. And Mike V says, as far as these storms are concerned, folks still want to pretend that climate change ain't real. Big Sis Monique says, can 50 Cent legally do that without permission? We'll talk about that later, but of course he can. Yeah, he can. And as Cardi B said and did. um, Power 96 says, I don't play around with Category 3 and above hurricanes. I would have gone to New Mexico. He says he still shakes at videos and pictures from Katrina. He lived it. This is a horrific storm. It is exactly what was predicted. And hopefully, as many folks as possible, or as could, um, took proper refuge. This is a real bruiser here, folks. Well, going way up north to New York City. I'm always in a New York state of mind, so start spreading the news. Last November, first of all, let's go ahead and play that because that's interesting to me. Do we have sound, Greer? Well, at that press conference, I don't know that we got sound yet, but
all black people in this city, the things that you have done are unconscionable. You hurt our schools, our streets are dirty, our children are harassed by the police. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. You can shush me all you want, but the people are with us. And this is not a black day. This is a justice day.
First of all, I want to thank you for being here this morning. And I want to thank the supporters of all ethnic groups.
So what happened there, the mayor, after his indictment, decided to hold a press conference, and what happened there is someone was shouting him down before he got started. Oh, apparently using some sort of bullhorn or megaphone or something. But the point of that individual, whoever was behind, whoever's voice that was shouting the mayor down, he didn't want the mayor to hold a press conference saying this is him being racially profiled, or that this was about him being black. The man was shouting, "This is not a black thing." Mike V says, "I thought they were going to go to fisticuffs at the mayor's event. The way they disrespected that 92-year-old woman, Mama Dukes, was crazy." It was a lot going on, but Mayor Adams has a cell phone problem among now his many problems, and the cell phone is really what sealed the deal here. So here's the deal. Last November, as we talked about before, Eric Adams told FBI agents he'd made an innocent mistake by changing and then forgetting the passcode to his mobile phone, making it more difficult for investigators to investigate its contents. A 5-count federal indictment, unsealed yesterday, says it was more than just a slip of the mind. Prosecutors say the mayor accepted illegal foreign donations from Turkey, defrauded the city's public campaign finance program, and leaned on the fire department to allow a new Turkish consulate skyscraper to open without a safety inspection. Now, we know the fire chief and police commissioner, all of them are in hot water. They've been forced to resign. Homes have been raided as well. Their properties, electronic devices, and everything they own basically have been scrutinized. So the mayor, of course, the first sitting mayor in New York to face an indictment, um, got to see, like everyone else saw, the 57-page indictment that shows mobile phone shenanigans, a trail that includes messages in which an Adams campaign staffer allegedly bites at the chance for $100,000 in illegal Turkish contributions during the 2021 mayor campaign. Adams won the Democratic primary that year by a slim 7,000 votes, by the way. Well, last November 2nd, Adams was in Washington for a meeting at the White House when he learned the FBI had visited the home of his top fundraiser, Brianna Suggs. She turned around and she called the mayor 5 times before answering the door for the FBI. She kept him outside while she tried to call him. The mayor then abruptly canceled the White House meeting and ran home. Well, during an interview with the FBI, one of the mayor's staff members excused herself. Excused herself. Yeah, you guys, this is comical almost. And went into a bathroom while being interviewed by the FBI, and deleted from her phone encrypted messaging apps that she had used to communicate with the mayor, a Turkish businessman, and others, according to the indictment. 4 days later, the FBI came armed with a search warrant for the mayor's own phones, but the mayor was only carrying his 2 official devices: his personal phone, the one he used to discuss campaign finance, and allegedly official favors for the Turkish government. So on November 5th, the mayor surrendered that mobile phone, but there was a hitch. According to the documents filed yesterday, when the mayor produced his personal cell phone the next day in response to a subpoena, it was locked, such that the device required a password to open. Adams claimed that after he learned about the investigation into his conduct, he changed the password that same day, quote, and increased the complexity of his password from 4 digits to 6. The mayor said he changed the password to prevent members of his staff from accidentally deleting anything. Sounds kind of weird, doesn't it? But Adams further claimed he had forgotten the password he had just set and thus was unable to provide the FBI with a password that would unlock the phone, according to the indictment. It's unclear if they were ever able to crack his phone without the newly minted 6-digit password. And then the indictment itself quotes from numerous text messages by members of Adams' inner circle. The prosecutor said the phone shenanigans was just one of several moves by the mayor and others to conceal their wrongful conduct from scrutiny by the public and law enforcement. Now, we know this month alone, the federal agents seized phones belonging to the police commissioner, who later resigned, 2 deputy mayors, the school's chancellor, and a close aide and confidant of the mayor. And then yesterday, as the indictment was being announced, federal agents raided Gracie Mansion, the mayor's official residence, to seize yet another of Adams's phones. The mayor definitely is in deep, deep, deep trouble. And as more information comes out, it seems like it's only a matter of time before he either agrees to resign or Governor Kathy Hochul is forced to remove him. She has the power to do that. Hakeem Jeffries, um, who's from New York, the House Minority Leader, stopped short of calling for him to resign. So did Chuck Schumer, the Senate Majority Leader, and AOC, of course, my girl, the Congresswoman, has called on him to resign, and the mayor hit back at her, calling her a no-show Congresswoman. Now that's kind of petty. That is kind of petty right there, Mayor Adams. Um, got a couple of comments on that. RNG says Adams is trying to turn black. Those criminal charges will humble you. He
The
said, "Nah,
destination,
homie, you can't call Tyrone."
India all the way to Ghana, the benefits, the free upgrades or free tickets altogether, the hotel stays, and the value. And if you just sum up all the dollar amounts here, you get to more than $100,000. And of course, as I said before, every single trip that we list here was undisclosed. As we allege in the indictment, in addition to not disclosing these benefits, Adams sometimes created fake paper trails to try to cover up the travel benefits he solicited and received. Let me give you one example. Adams wrote emails to his staff suggesting he paid for his 2017 business class flights on the Turkish airline when, as we allege, he did not. Those flights were worth a lot of money. Just one ticket alone cost more than $10,000. But months after taking the flights, Adams wrote an email to a staff member and told the staff member that he had left cash in her desk drawer and that she should send the money to the Turkish airline to pay for a trip he had already taken. As the indictment makes clear, that's just a clumsy cover-up. Now, just because...
Not just a clumsy cover-up. Mike V makes a great point. He says about the buildings, it makes you question the legitimacy of the safety of those buildings in New York now, the ones under this administration. He said, ORNG says, OJ's tried to tell y'all for the love of money, Adams, Diddy, R. Kelly will be sharing the same cell. Interested in Adams and Diddy because, do you know, a year ago, Adams presented Diddy with the key to the city. Isn't that something? In Oklahoma, we talked the other day about Marcellus Williams. Everyone's talking about Marcellus Williams. But they executed a man yesterday by lethal injection, despite conflicting evidence regarding his guilt. The man, Emmanuel Littlejohn. This is a really sad story here. Emmanuel, he was 52 years old when they executed him yesterday. He was 20 at the time of the alleged crime back in 1992. It was a convenience store robbery, and the store owner was shot to death. Little John was the third inmate to put to death by the state this year. As I said, he was 20 during the time of the crime. Um, it's just well, here's what happened. During the robbery, the store owner, Kenneth Mears, was shot in the face while trying to defend himself. Although Little John admitted to his involvement in the robbery, he has always maintained that his accomplice, Glenn Bethany, was the one who pulled the trigger. Bethany was sentenced to life without parole, while Little John was sentenced to death. And Little John went on to say, I committed a robbery that had devastating consequences, but I repeat, I did not kill Mr. Mears. Little John's case has raised questions over conflicting evidence, with some witnesses pointing at Bethany as the shooter. His legal team argued against his execution, citing inconsistent prosecutions. His lawyer also mentioned Little John's troubled childhood and underdeveloped brain at the time of the crime. His team emphasized that his personal growth in prison, where he has become a positive role model for his family. Several jurors, too, have admitted that they mistakenly voted for the death penalty because they misunderstood the implications of a life without parole sentence. During a hearing just last month, Oklahoma's Pardon and Parole Board voted 3-2 to recommend the state's governor, Republican Kevin Stitt, to spare Little John's life. And generally, when the parole and pardons board does that, the governor follows, but not in this case. Also, what's making this troubling is that just 3 years ago, the governor did commute for the first time the sentence of Julius Jones, who was convicted for the 1999 murder of Paul Howell. He commuted that sentence to life without the possibility of parole just a few hours before the execution. But he did not take such action this time for Little John. He declined to commute the sentence. He says a jury found him guilty and sentenced him to death. As a law and order governor, I have a hard time unilaterally overturning that decision. But he didn't have a problem overturning the other decision. And here's where it gets really sad. When he was strapped to that gurney yesterday, and they put that IV in his arm, he looked over to his mother and his daughter. They both was there to witness the execution. And he says, "Mom, are you okay?" Of course, she was crying and says, "Yes, I'm okay." And keep in mind too that Little John was prosecuted by former Oklahoma District Attorney Bob Macy, who was known for his zealous pursuit of the death penalty. Macy secured 54 death sentences during his 20 years in office. 54. This guy, you talk about bloodthirsty. 54. It got to be some sort of record. 54 uh, death sentences this guy has gotten. And he can now count Little John among them. Um, but another one. This is so. Last Friday there was an execution in South Carolina, and then of course we know about Marcellus Williams, and now this one yesterday. Within a week, 3 African American men put to death. In each case, there was objections and doubt about the cases, and in this case, um, in Little John's case, uh, who pulled the trigger? And I get it that you're with someone and you're at the commission of a crime, you get charged with the same crime. But why did this other man get prison, and why did Little John get death? And that's been the crust, part of really what has been at the heart of what makes this so upsetting. That you have this You have these bloodthirsty MAGA guys. Folks, this is what you're getting. This is what you're getting. Yeah, government sanctioned death, as Greer says, is immoral. Um, Donald Trump. We talk about the height of hypocrisy. We talked about Melania. I set it up earlier as we came on the air. She pushed this idea that everyone is struggling to afford basic necessities. Um, Now, this again, they want to harp on. There's a lot of things wrong with this. They want to harp on um, the grammatically. Austin says the grammatically incorrect be best former first lady. Yeah, they want to harp on this immigration stuff and spew all this racist hate toward immigrants, particularly Haitian immigrants. I mean, but this immigrant, Melania Trump, goes on Fox and says that people are struggling in this country. The country deserves, but you don't know what this country deserves. Go talk about what your country deserves. How about that? But anyway, um, she says at the same time she says this, her husband is pushing these watches for $100,000. $100,000. Um, it's called the Trump Watch Collection, and he says the limited collection will run you 100,000 a pop. He says you're going to love them. Would make a great Christmas gift. Says don't wait, they will go fast. They will go fast. So it tells you, I mean, it contradicts what she's saying because if people are struggling, and by the way, have you seen the prices of gas lately? I haven't seen them this low and I can't remember. So once again, this is what this man has used in the past the White House for and what he intends to use it for. Again, it's a major, major grift. A major grift. Enriching all the bankruptcies. And by the way, that 480, almost $500 million judgment that Tish James secured against Trump, well, it appears that um, he's going to again catch another break. It appears that they're going to either overturn it or wipe it out or tremendously um, lessen that amount of damages that was awarded the state of New York. A three-judge panel yesterday uh, um, expressed a lot of skepticism. An appeals panel, I should say. A couple of the judges even going as far as saying, "I don't see a victim here." Judges saying that they don't see a victim here. Austin wants to know how many immigrants like Melania have nude photos of themselves online. That's an Austin type question. Wow. Um, Now we slide into the uh entertainment and not so entertainment portion of the program. It's Friday, so we got to do something here. I mean, Power 96 is not giving us any sports yet, so he says her nonsense is null and void. Ask that mail-ordered bride has she saw the prices and attendance at sports venues. Tell her to stick to being. Oh gosh. Oh my. Austin and Power 96. What you guys on the phone together? They're going in. Um, you guys are you ready for Friday? Um, Diddy and Netflix, more pointedly, 50 Cent and Netflix teaming up to produce a documentary series detailing Diddy's ongoing abuse case or cases. This week, 50 Cent confirmed the streaming services partnership on the project is going to address the violent, and this is their quote, the violent abuse and sexual assault allegations against Puffy. 50 Cent says this is a story with significant human impact. It is a complex narrative spanning decades, not just the headlines or clips seen so far. And we know that over the years, 50 Cent has been unapologetically vocal about his disdain for Diddy. Despite both men having a significant impact on hip hop, 50 Cent says the uncomfortable energy connected to Diddy and his infamous parties turned him off. And another note about a couple other notes about the Diddy situation. So his lawyer told the court and also the court of public opinion in interviews that all of that baby oil we saw lined up in his house that the feds confiscated, 1,000 bottles, that he buys it in bulk from Costco. Costco now has joined the fray, said, no, he didn't. He didn't buy it from us. Now, that's pretty unusual. It's a pretty unusual statement from a store that sells the product to say, no, you didn't buy that from us. Well, why would you even get involved? Why would Costco even get involved? It's not like it's a bad mark against you. No one's saying anything negative about Costco here where you felt the need to come out and defend yourself. I mean, it's everybody when they see an opportunity, I guess people just want to maybe Costco feels this is going to help their brand or something. I don't know how, but come on. I guess they wanted to get they wanted their chance to say, take that, take that. I mean, come on. Give me a break. Diddy says he is eating. Now there was reports that ran rampant that he's not eating. Okay, Mike V. Okay, so maybe that's what it is. He says Costco doesn't want to be implicated in the investigation. But Diddy says that he is eating. He's not fearing that someone's poisoning his food at the detention center in Brooklyn, contrary to multiple reports. And those reports stem from this guy. And you know, I find it very, very sketchy. Um, and I forget which outlet, News Nation, had this guy on who served time, including at the MDC in Brooklyn, where Diddy's currently at. And I saw the interview, and he says, my sources. What sources could you possibly have? First and foremost, do you know that this guy is a convicted felon? This guy who gave the interview, and convicted felons are not allowed to visit prison or have contact with prisoners. I mean, unless a corrections officer is his source, but his source was Diddy is not eating, and this is the type of behavior that's going to lead to suicide. And of course, mainstream media ate it up. The guy just didn't look. He might be very, very credible, but it came off as almost like he wanted to. He was conflicted as to should he hide his face and voice. One of those shows where you have they blur your face out and alter your voice. It seemed like he was considering that. If you saw the interview, you'd understand what I'm saying better. But nonetheless, mainstream media picked that up and ran with it, and Diddy sent word nothing could be further from the truth. He's chowing down. He's not afraid that somebody's trying to poison him, and he's vowed now that, according to his attorney, who has said it a few times now and said it again, that he is definitely going to testify at trial. And Korea, why are you reading my mind? I have that right here in front of me. We're gonna before I get to my other topic, I'm going to get to it now before I get into trouble here by not doing this quick enough for the boss. Um, but before I even get to that, I gotta read these. Had folks walking for cheesecake, if I recall correctly. 50 Cent is shucking and jiving again. Power 96 says, and his studio in Louisiana is not popular among my country folks in Shreveport. Um, yes, on Thursdays, Angel Reese is unhappy. And you know who's unhappy when Angel Reese is unhappy? A lot of real WNBA fans. But on Thursday, after just one season, coach Teresa Witherspoon was reportedly fired by the Chicago Sky, which is a decision that came down unexpectedly. And since being hired in October of last year, she's a Hall of Famer. She is the Sky's ninth coach. And I saw where Dawn tweeted that this organization is so poorly run, has been poorly run for a long time. And Angel Reese tweeted that that is part and parcel why she was excited about going to the Chicago Sky because of Teresa Witherspoon. She says in her tweet, Angel says, "I'm heartbroken. I'm literally lost for words knowing what this woman meant to me in such a pivotal point in my life. She was the only person that believed in me, the one that trusted me. Many don't even know what's it like to be a black woman in sports when nobody believes in you. You had a tough job, all the crazy circumstances that we went through this year. And when your back was against the wall, you always believed. I came to Chicago because of you. You were an unsung hero in my life. We built a relationship in a short amount of time that will last forever." Wow. Um, and Teresa Witherspoon's firing should also help to put to rest these crazies who claim that everything is handed to Angel. Nothing was handed to Angel Reese. Um, because if that was the case, Chicago Sky, knowing the bond between Angel and Teresa, knowing her impact, Angel's impact um, on the team and on the city itself, there's no way they would have fired her. No way they would have fired her. It's like a LeBron James situation. Front office will not make a move on the coach without considering and even talking with LeBron. So this is really really a shame. 1 year, 1 year, and so it tells me too that I'm gonna bring it here. I'm taking it here that black coaches and managers the sports still does not see the value. All of sports, because we know that this doesn't happen to others. And here's the other part about that too. Unless your name is Doc Rivers, and so for some reason Doc Rivers has 9 lives. Um, you fired as a black coach or manager. It is uh almost impossible. Can be done, but almost impossible to be rehired, to be hired somewhere else. It's just doesn't happen. But other coaches, white coaches, and other they get recycled. They lose in one place. It's like these bad cops. They mess up in one place. They go to another jurisdiction. A manager or a coach in sports, recycled. Yeah, Mark Jackson. That's a great one, Mike V. Mark Jackson. Now people talk about his personality. That doesn't stop white coaches. They got a bad personality. They can get along with folks. That didn't stop them from being hired elsewhere. Mark Jackson was never hired again, and Mark Jackson was the architect of what became really a mini dynasty in Golden State. Can't even get interviews. Willie Randolph, baseball, first job and only job was with the New York Mets. Every season under him was a winning season. They didn't, uh, eh, make the playoffs every year, but they never had a losing season. Got fired, never considered again. Like Reed mentions that Patrick Ewing wasn't even considered for a role as a head coach. And Quinn is right. It takes years to turn around any program. And the Sky um, finished under 500 last year before Teresa. And they certainly, with Cardoso and Angel and the others, they certainly had the and have the makings of a team that's being built to compete for years to come. But this quick trigger was absolutely asinine. Absolutely. Well, folks, from Elvis gyrating in prison stripes and jailhouse rock to Prince putting Apollonia on the back of his bike in Purple Rain, rock and roll and movies have been inseparable for nearly 60 years now. We don't always agree with Rolling Stone magazine, but this time, I'm not going to disagree. They had the list of the greatest movie soundtracks of all time. They published them yesterday. And Prince commanded 3 spots. The Parade album for the soundtrack to Under the Church, and also that landed at number 47. Batman, which had my favorite Joker, Jack Nicholson, in it, landed at number 86. But the number 1 spot went to Purple Rain. Purple Rain scored the top spot as the number 1 soundtrack of all time, movie soundtrack of all time. And this is what the Rolling Stone writers determined. They said, at its core, Purple Rain is really an ordinary melodrama about a struggling musician with girl troubles. However, that musician happens to be Prince at the peak of his historic creative streak. It points out that in August of 1984, Prince had the number 1 movie, album, and song in the country. Um, the top 10 included, of course, Purple Rain. After that was Help, The Harder They Come, A Hard Day's Night, Saturday Night Fever, Superfly, Pulp Fiction, The Graduate, American Graffiti, and Wild Style. Now, I thought that Saturday Night Fever, of all those there, I thought Saturday Night Fever soundtrack certainly deserved to be in the top 10. It would be in my top 3 for sure. Look, give credit where credit is due. Understand talent where there is talent, and those BGs, those Gibb brothers, you got to give them their due. And of course, Superfly, Curtis Mayfield, number 6. I agree wholeheartedly with that one. Pulp Fiction at number 7. The Graduate, there you go, at number 8. American Graffiti at number 9, and Wild Style at number 10. The one thing I don't that might be disputable. I mean, how do you discount? Not necessarily discount, but how is it that Whitney Houston's Bodyguard is all the way at number 101? I mean, she was a voice of a generation. That Bodyguard album. Oh, I mean, 101. You can't put Whitney that far down the list. You just can't. But of course, this is what Rolling Stone does. They give you when you think they finally getting something right, which if you're a Prince fan, you're certainly going to agree with the three soundtracks being in the top 100. But you got to really come on. Whitney 101. I'm surprised they based on it's because it's Rolling Stone that Superfly came in so high. I mean, it's well deserved to be recognized that way. Michelle Madison says she loves the Bee Gees. The Bee Gees is just that. I mean, what an amazing troubled family, but amazing voices. And there's Waiting to Exhale at 27. And maybe there's an argument that was the better soundtrack. That's where the Shoop song was on there, right? Yeah. But Brad Stevens, Mike V says Brad Stevens was given many chances before he volunteered to step down. Brought in Joe Mazzulla, talking about the coaching again, and immediately got rid of him. Juice was number 31. How about that? So they made sure to mix it up, didn't they? The problem, though, with Rolling Stone, like the problem with so many other things and entities, is just not enough Black folks involved in these decisions. But the Urban Cowboy, well, why are we showing Urban? Oh my gosh, Urban Cowboy, number 36. Huh. Wow. Well, and this comes again as we brought you the news yesterday about the death of Cat Glover. I guess Sign of the Times was not a it's not a film, it's a concert film. It's not a soundtrack. It's a concert film. So there's a difference because Sign of the Times to me is the greatest album ever made. So there you have it. But soundtracks have all historically been very profitable for the artist. And number 41, the Mac. What about the return of the Mac? The Mac is number 41. Oh boy. So go check out Rolling Stone if you care about this type of stuff, if it moves you at all. But Purple Rain, number 1. Wow. Okay. It's a great weekend ahead. I'm pretty sure about that. I'm calling it. So no matter what your plans are, be safe. And if you're in the Southeast, and I know we have viewers from the Southeast, folks, our hearts go out to you. Be careful, stay well, stay safe, and join us again on Monday. Hit the like and share and subscribe button on the Let It Be Known YouTube page, LIBK-news. And we'll check you out again on Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody.